It's gonna. All right, let's start it.
Just wing it.
Yeah. We'll get your back.
So we'll call this November 4th, 2024 meeting to session. I don't have a list of anything.
Yeah, do we have the agenda?
We'll go ahead and do a roll call.
We don't have an agenda.
You have an agenda?
I do not.
Oh,
I have it on my computer, but
sure, it's fine.
kids are a little chaotic and I was.
There should be pens up there. Did you need
I
one?
got one on my phone.
Okay.
So first we'll do a roll call
Brian,
Here.
Wes,
here.
Tyler,
Here.
Shelley and Matt are absent.
So then we'll make see if anyone has any comments with our agenda. Otherwise, we'll make a motion to agenda for tonight's meeting.
You guys have any changes?
No.
Nope, no changes.
Somebody like to make a motion?
A motion.
Second.
Oh, I can do that too.
You gonna do a voice roll call? We're gonna run it through the gamut tonight. Brian,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Wes.
Yes. Next, we'll look to approve the minutes from the September 9th planning and zoning meeting. Any changes or issues with the minutes from that date?
Second. Motion. I'll second.
Brian,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Wes.
Yes. Next, we'll look at the Peosta construction site erosion and sediment control.
The reason that this was put together is that we're having some subdivisions with drainage issues. And there's a lot of finger pointing saying it's the city's fault because the city altered the landscape of the development. When in reality, it's the developer. It could be the actual home builder, whether it be a contractor, or it can sometimes be the homeowner when they're moving land and, dirt around to do whatever kind of projects. So in order to keep that finger pointing from happening, Steve was kind enough to find this checklist from the city of Waukee. And we modified it, and he believes everything in there, and I do as well, that will help protect the city moving forward. And as another added layer of protection on our building permits, we're going to put a little checkbox out there. So when you pull the building permit and you're online and you're checking it off, you get to this one section that says that you promise not to alter any of the topography to, substantially change anything. And it will not let you go to the next checkbox unless you check that. So we've got this checklist and we've got the building permit. And again, sometimes it's trial by fire. You'd have something happen that kind of creates a checklist like this. So that's what we're doing. And I know there's a lot of information there, but knowing that we've had our friends in Waukee do most of the work for us, and then having our city engineer review that. I think Dean even took a look at it as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I assumed that he did. I had talked to your building inspector as well to be a partner in this. There's any number of parties involved through a development project that can impede drainage. I mean, this is a big, kind of what this was stemming from, was some drainage modifications that no one can determine who did it. You have the developer, an engineer designs the plans, we agree to the plans, you go out there and confirm that it was built substantially in accordance with the plans. The homeowner buys a lot, and it is what it is when they take it on, and then a home builder starts building it. As a homeowner, you don't have a lot of control out there, they're trying to make your yard good. And then, after that's done, you bring a landscaper in. Well, there's about 5 different parties there that had an opportunity to modify what was probably otherwise a really sound design. And then the homeowner, unbeknownst to them, comes back to the city and says, you created this drainage problem. Well, a lot of times they don't know that it was them. And so we're trying to have some checks and balances in the process to make sure that at least at some milestones through the construction process, someone's looked at it, someone said, yeah, it's good at this point. so that you can at least eliminate the designer, the developer, the home builder at some point. And I'm sure that something will happen where it says we didn't close this loophole. We'll deal with that at the time. But with your building inspector, with Dean on board, with me on board, with your administrative staff, I think we're doing as much as we can to protect the city at this point. And then something again comes in through the side door, we'll find what the proper lock is for that door at that point.
We're even going as far as to taking a picture of the lot before it's even disturbed. So that way we have a visual. And then once the foundation's dug, we take another picture. So we're documenting it along the way. So I really don't know what else we can do at this point. But like Steve said, I'm sure there's going to be something that is going to open up Pandora's box, and we'll have to just be proactive at that time.
So with flat properties, it's pretty simple. There's not too much to really worry about, but if
Actually, those are the ones that we're most concerned about.
Really?
Yeah, because it doesn't take much then to change, because there's a lot of relief, so there's not a lot of places for the water to go. It doesn't take much to impede it or change it.
Okay.
And so those are probably more critical that we are diligent with having those inspections. The steeper ones, you've got grade to play with. And so it's just kind of the opposite. It's counterintuitive, but
Yeah.
So your approval tonight will make a recommendation to the council. This will be added to the ordinance, which will trigger a public hearing and a bunch of whole fun steps after that. But what we're looking for is your recommendation to city council to add this to our ordinance.
So if we implement this, do you have kind of an estimation on what percentage of mitigation this will decrease?
I would say substantially. And again, I always tell this story. If you ever bought coffee from McDonald's, the cup says coffee. Put that there because of no reason. They got sued. And that prevented them from getting sued. This is pretty good, given what we're out there. I don't think we'll have to change much, but there's going to be something. And, trying to get the right parties communicating at the right time. This helps at least have an attestation on that process that says, yeah, I read this, I understand, to the best of their ability. And hopefully that we don't have this again. And again, we've learned too. So there's just some things, this development that we're going to talk about here, we had some very specific questions around this very thing on this development because we kind of learned from what happened before any of us were employed here.
Then why do we take walk keys, just out of curiosity?
So our company serves as a consultant for them. I used my network to say, hey, we have this problem in Peosta. And they said, well, we had that problem in Waukee, and here's how we addressed it. And fortunately, I had a former coworker as an employee there. She sent me what they had, and we just kind of, and that her staff.
True definition of networking.
Always nice to have someone else's resources to work off.
It's always nice that someone else spent the money for you. Yeah, that's a great thing.
Joaquin knows a thing or two about the development.
Yes, they do.
Seems like it would add a good layer of protection from our vantage point, especially if we're anticipating growth.
Has the city been sued, or how many complaints are we getting?
No,
with
we
the
have
city
not
with
been
that?
sued, but we've had some really persistent people wanting to know why we did this and why the drainage problems are that way. And even after Steve's review of it and to a letter to them, that didn't suffice. So we decided we just take it to the next level and put this protection in place. I don't really know what happened to the homeowner. They just stopped contacting me. I don't know if it was just they gave up or they just kind of finally realized that it's something on your behalf of what you did. It could be you, it could be a whole, combination of the contractor and.
So a little bit more meat on the bones of that. There was a drainage somebody filled in. It was not, Dean had put eyes on it and said, yes, it was built the way it was designed. And then sometime beyond that, somebody had done something that created a really flat situation where it's a drainage issue now. And of course, the homeowners come to the city and says, it's your water, you fix it. And we're saying, can't prove it was ours. We can't prove it was you. And we have this situation of, we don't know. What we do know is there's a drainage easement there. It's not built according to plan. And the problem is you're having an issue. It doesn't necessarily mean we're at fault here, but what can we do to prevent that situation from happening again in this?
You said it's a checklist, how that each step in the construction process has to be like approved or before they move on to the next?
Not each step, it's really kind of before you get to that point where you're making those changes.
So there'd be nothing that would like hinder development. or
heavens
anything
no.
like that.
And I will say, common sense prevailed here with the next modification of this. Waukee actually requires a full-blown survey be done pre and post construction to certify that drainage course hasn't been modified.
That would prohibit
Yeah.
and stagnate the
Yeah.
development.
So that would be the next step. If all of a sudden we get to that point, we hope we don't have to. And I would anticipate that we would not. We have good sound home builders around here with good intentions and understanding.
Theological, extra better protection.
To approve?
Is
Second.
that your motion?
Yeah.
That's second, Wes.
Yep.
Brian,
Sure.
Yes.
Tyler, Wes.
Yes.
Motion
Yes.
carried.
So that's good. So then we'll move on to the final plat for the Royal Oaks 8th edition subdivision lot A of Oak Park Estates number 2.
Okay, this is what, Steve, 82 lots?
Well,
80
plus
or
or minus,
82?
yeah, it's quite a few here. I think the last we talked, it was plus or minus 81, so.
And by no means do we expect you to be engineers. Or have that checklist beside you checking off everything in that ordinance. That's what I do expect of them.
That's a reasonable expectation.
They're not even
That's
listed.
what you got, that's what you got a Steve
Right,
for, right?
That's right,
So-
right.
So northeast of the car wash, right? East of.
Yes.
Trackside.
Yeah, do you know where Ultimate Impressions is? Literally behind that. You could see the mountainous hills of dirt back there.
Behind the funeral home.
This is for 82 lots?
80 to 82.
Gotcha.
And again, the review is just to make sure that it's built according to the standards that we have in our code of ordinances.
Are there any changes from the previous? I think we did we not look at this earlier?
No, we have, I think you
Like an
guys.
Initial plat or something like that?
That might, I don't think that, we just got this one not too long ago. I don't know which other one you might have looked at.
This says final plat, so the
Yeah.
preliminary plat have been before them?
No.
Okay.
No,
We had a preliminary in the last year, or maybe 2 years it was, maybe not.
maybe it was a year and a half ago.
I think there was some concept presented.
Thought that was
I
NAR.
don't know if anything changed from that, if there was.
Okay,
All good.
I don't think there was any substantial changes from that. I've been pretty fast to contact with John Lutz, and you're here and kind of in his stead. I don't know if you could attest to the changes between preliminary and final.
I don't know any specific changes between preliminary and final plat. I'm really more familiar with kind of what was discussed at
sure.
a design review meeting, I think you'd call it, today with the city staff and Steve.
Yeah. So we've reviewed this. I've had a handful of meetings with the engineer. Annette and Dean and I met with him today to talk about some remaining items, some concerns on Dean's part. They were addressed to our satisfaction, I believe. We have 4 points that we have been told will be addressed. And so any approval would be contingent of that. One would be the name of what I would call the horseshoe. Thought it was kind of confusing to have multiple names there, so they were gonna rename that as one continuous. I believe they decided it was gonna try to be Ione, right?
Correct, and it's identified as Rylan on that horseshoe.
Antica and Ione. It had 3 different
Right.
segments, so we wanted to clarify that. And John seemed to be agreeable to that. I need some calculations substantially justifying some of the storm sewer structures and detention basins out there. I feel pretty comfortable with where it's at, but it just to dot the I and cross the T, I'd like to review the specific. Not that it is a huge deal probably to you guys, but we're gonna switch what side of the road of Isa Drive was going to have water and sewer on it. Dean has some reasons for that, and John supported those reasons. And the last thing was, on lots 27, 28, and 9 and 10, we wanted to have attached to the plat a restriction that would not allow driveways to come out on Ione Drive, mainly because the nature of the surface drainage is kind of heading in a northwest to southeast direction there. And we didn't want any driveway to impede that drainage and create any sort of backwater, stormwater issues. That was at the suggestion of the engineer. We agreed with that, thought that was a great idea. So, like I said, any approval would be contingent upon those 4 things. Otherwise, the rest seemed, we were in concurrence that everything seemed to be adequately addressed, and we're okay with the design as it's presented.
And we can take this to council and we can say, this was, it was approved by you based on these contingencies. Nothing will be signed off on until those 4 items have been met.
So it looks like initially, is it Isa Drive, Isa
ISA,
Drive and Ione Drive would be the entry exit points. And then future of Laura and Cashel Drive.
Yeah,
They tie into that. in the
so
future?
Laura Cashel, just an extension from west to east, so you can come in there as well. So all of these east-west streets, I believe, begin at Peosta Drive and run east-west.
Yep.
And then looking with an eye to the future, Ginger Drive, which is the northernmost road there, and Isa Drive would extend farther east. And Cashel and Laura would terminate at Ione.
Or there'd be a lot of entry points to be able to
Several.
alleviate where there's not too much traffic in there. yeah.
Absolutely. Now, it's anticipated that Isa Drive would probably be a main thoroughfare, so we've asked that they make that a wider right of way and a little bit more substantial pavement structure, thinking that that's going to be more of a. And they were agreeable to that as well.
Stephen, I have to apologize because I was talking to Kathy. Did we cover the no driveways off of? Okay.
Are there sidewalks then? Is it all new
Yes,
construction?
that is a requirement now for subdivisions. They have to have sidewalks.
Yeah.
Is the only R2 zoning south there in the lots 69, 70? In terms of, assuming that's looking to be duplexes? I see zoning R2 down there.
Is that on NAR Drive? What you're looking at south or west of?
South, I just see it says zoning R2 there and above it says R1.
Yeah, they're,
Like lot 70 is where it says it specifically, I think on my map.
They're the ones on the extreme southeast by the detention basin. And
are those off of NAR?
no, they're part off of Tisha.
Okay.
I see.
Oh, I
zoning.
see it now.
There's R2.
They're right.
I see it.
So is that just for 1 or 2 lots or is that the whole strip down there?
I believe that would be for the entire development because I'm not seeing anything else that says
I see
R1.
I see an R2 just above that and I see an R1. So below Isa Drive, I see another R2 and then north of it, I see an R1. If you look in
Oh, I
lot
see it now.
59 and lot 5, those where it says R1, R2.
So, yeah, you are correct then.
I guess what's the reasoning for R1, R2 differentiation there?
Do you happen to know?
I do not know the answer to that.
I think that just gives them the flexibility to put townhouses there. This is like an eye test.
Mhm.
It is, yeah, this job gets harder as we get older.
I wasn't looking for that excuse, but all right. Is that zoning show up on the final?
I didn't see that. I don't,
Cause I'm looking at the preliminary right now.
is it on that document that you have up there, Kathy, you know? I don't see
And then
any
that-
sort of zoning designation.
Is that the only difference between R1 and R2 is just townhomes? I was thinking townhomes could be R1. Maybe I'm wrong with that.
I would have to go get my zoning book to look at it.
A million times, but I can't remember.
And that's okay. It's right around the corner, so I can go grab it.
R1 is single family, R2 is two family.
Okay,
Oh, that is the only difference.
Yeah.
can I come back now?
Yes.
Okay.
Are those the only lots that we have that capability in? Or are there more,
For the zoning,
the different R1, R2?
I believe the top two are R1, and the bottom two are R2s. So I think they're focusing more on single family to the east. And then duplexes to the south. ISA.
I think it's fine. I just didn't know if that was all intentional or the reason behind it.
Well, and I'm glad you pointed that out. Because I don't see that on the final. Andy, is that something that we can have added to it as well?
The zoning,
Yeah. Just to
Yeah.
confirm that that's what they are going to do.
yeah, I think that would be, I don't know of any issues with that, do you, Steve? I don't. As far as plat preparation.
Is there anything in the notes that might indicate that?
I didn't see anything, so it's in preliminary.
So just to be clear, you'd like a clarification on the final plat of which lots are to be zoned R1 versus R2
Right.
and.
Like lots 1 through 35 or R1, et cetera and so forth.
And that's the only two zoning options in this subdivision, correct?
Correct.
And then is the future park, again, I think we talked about this maybe at the 1.5 year ago meeting. Is that just a big grassy field right now, or do we have any idea what's gonna go there? Lot E, I believe it is called.
I don't think you're gonna see playground equipment there. It might just be a couple
Grassy
of
field.
benches. It could be, yeah. Just an area for people to congregate.
Will that be donated to the city?
Yes.
A little wildflower prairie grass in there.
It'd be easier than mowing it.
Exactly. You need to set good examples, right?
Mm-hmm. I think that it's the mission for the council is to start looking at any of these subdivisions being developed, to have like little pockets, parks
Totally.
and areas, you know,
makes
as
sense.
long as we end up with the property, it's always up to us what we decide that we want there. It's really not great to end up with a lot of donated property because it's just more maintenance, but to Brian's point, yeah, that would be a nice area.
You know what it says on here, proposed zoning R2 lots 55 to 80, R1 lots 154.
Okay,
Which attachment?
and that's on the final.
This is only on the preliminary, I don't have.
Sometimes those notes don't get transferred over from the prelim to the final, which is kind of in some cases bad.
Sometimes the notes though are required on the preliminary, but not on the final too, so. And I don't know if that is a requirement here or not, but
It's not, I mean, it's just when you're starting to look at,
I know, you always have.
you always go to
on
the
the right,
final.
yep. Yep, that we've got.
Other than that, I don't have anything else for that. Like we can, I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for the Royal Oaks 8th edition subdivision lot A, Oak Park Estates number 2 to go to city council.
Contingent upon those 4 things.
Yes,
Right.
Can I mention one thing before you vote? I think John was updating me on the naming, street naming.
Yeah.
Topic that was discussed. He mentioned that Ryland Drive, you know, north of, I guess the first sheet of this is already a named street.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't obviously be affected by this plat.
We talked about changing, so.
Okay,
yeah,
that'd-
you would-
that'd
you would
be
charge
handled
Ryland,
outside.
but the two new segments, the council would have to take on renaming Ryland, and I don't know what that process is.
I don't believe it's gonna be anything that is,
Yeah.
there has not been permits pulled for any of those lots there, so I think we're in good shape. Nothing's been recorded at this point. I'll have to check with Jeff Miller to see.
Yeah, but your control would be Tisha, which would be the bottom part of the horseshoe, and then the easternmost chunk of Ione. That would
Okay.
all become Ione.
Yes.
And then, though, you got a segment of Ryland that you're
That is on the
in
plan.
this, so we'll have to get that worked out to change the name of that because of the segment to the north that's already existing.
Yeah, okay.
Does that
I
make
just wanted to
sense?
make- Yes, it does. That's exactly the way John described it too. I just want to make sure that that was clarified before
Yep.
it was voted on.
And I'll communicate to John what that process is on our end.
Okay,
Once I go back through our ordinance, if there's anything in there, and if not, then I think we're at liberty just to make sure we document it.
I'll second that initial motion then.
Okay, I'll do a roll call. Brian,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Wes.
Yes. Do we have anybody on Zoom for citizen comment?
We did not. But no, we did not.
Before I want to make one comment. We're gonna have to start going back through our zoning ordinance again. We had one person leave, it was Mike Ackerman, and we just and then we had Carissa leave, so it's kind of just been dangling out there. There was a housing study, there's a housing study underway right now. When we get that data, it'll come back to you. And it's really gonna be your responsibility to review that. And this is before your time, but we did remove apartments from C1 and C2. So we'll have to take a look at it. Whether the data says that, we do need them, or the data says we don't, and that'll have to be a decision and recommendation made by you to the city council. Then that'll go back through the public hearing process because it is a zoning change. So we've got a lot of work and it's a lot of responsibility. And I know that at those upcoming public hearings, there's probably going to be quite a crowd showing up. But that shouldn't sway your decision, or maybe it will.
And we need to work through that.
Yeah, and there's just so many other things. I know that we were waiting for the
There's still
city.
quite a bit of pushback on that.
I think there's the people who really live here, and I can say that, don't want them. And I'm on recording, so this is really bad. But then we have the developers and we have people that support the developers, which is great because I support development as well. See the need for those, but this housing study, we're really trying to drill down on where these people are coming from that are renting the apartments. The thought process was we wanted to build the apartments to keep the 1,335 people, 1,335 people that work in our industrial park, those who don't live in Peosta, to give them an opportunity to start renting here and then have the opportunity to move to build a new home or buy a home here. And we're starting to find out that we're having a lot of people that don't live here. They work here and they're being they're being bused from these apartments to Farley, or they're being
Yeah.
bused.
Cause I think couple units like, I know like Banking Enterprises, I think has, and multiple other entities, I know, Williams Owing and some of those,
And I can be very honest with you because I talked to the chief of police this morning and we're starting to have more problems with the apartments. That's just the nature of the beast. It could be worse. We could have trailer parks, but there's a demographic for each one of those segments. However, these are things that you're gonna have to take a look at. And again, it's just gonna be a lot of thinking.
yeah.
We just have to be strategic, because when you're growing, you want to offer some diversity to help with the mix, but not allow too much of the wrong areas,
Right.
I see with
segments.
a lot of what, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but like, because obviously we're in like staffing and recruiting in our industry is like these outside companies are coming into town and essentially offering they're bringing either migrant workers or, legal citizens from the southern US, a lot of those different, looking to make more money up here. And most of them aren't staying for a long time, but they're kind of part of the packages. They're putting them up in apartments as well.
Sure.
And kind of coordinating that. And I know that the Peosta apartments are,
Would you be interested in sitting on the housing committee?
oh geez.
Your input's very valuable. With the segment, we can talk about this offline.
Okay.
But I just find that very interesting. to
Yeah, so
hear that
that's,
too.
there's multiple companies that are utilizing this. And I know and it's gonna probably continue until I would guess it's gonna continue for a while, at least until, unless we have some sort of immersion of new workforce, which I don't see happening. But yeah, so a lot of these apartments are being targeted for that. So they're not necessarily people that are, I'm not saying that never, but a lot of these people are not looking to make this a 6 month to 2 year endeavor to make a certain amount of money and,
But your point, we need to keep working on that because we need to stay in front of the wave of growth.
Right, absolutely. And we were waiting for the city of Asbury to complete theirs. Well, ironically enough, it looks really like ours. So we're not really we're not making it better, but I think there's,
There's still
knowing
be
that,
places we can pull from it, yeah.
absolutely. So I think we're gonna have to go right back to the beginning again and start over. So that is probably the goal for 2025.
Careful what you say to good volunteer.
I have no expertise on
She has
anything,
sharp
just throwing that
ears.
out there.
She has sharp ears.
I have selective hearing.
Is Wes taking over his chair going forward? Or are we voting on that tonight?
Negative.
Okay, I guess if there's nothing else, we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Okay. Thanks, guys.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, your word.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, you too. I'll take